Caminá y cállate, vamos. Caminá.
¿A dónde me llevas? ¡Ricardo!
Cállate la boca, pendejo. Bajá la cabeza.
¿A dónde me llevas?
Bajá la cabeza.
¿A dónde
Entrá.
me llevas?
Vamos, bajá la cabeza y entrá, carajo.
equivocando, nosotros no hicimos nada.
¿Estás bien?
El Clan. El Clan is the new Argentinian film directed by Pablo Trapero, and it indulges in my favorite movie genre ever, absurd dark humor. The film's plot is deeply rooted in its political past, and takes place during the time period 1982, after the Falkland Wars, to 1985, the return of democracy in Argentina. The film is a true story about the dysfunctional Puccio family. After losing his job, Archimedes Puccio, played by Guillermo Francella, has alternative ways of earning money, kidnap wealthy Argentinians, ask them for ransom money and disposing their bodies altogether. After getting away with blatant murder, his son Alejandro also joins the fun, and together they venture into their new family business. El Clan is a very entertaining film, but there are a couple of things that cannot make me consider this to be a brilliant film. Those who are well rehearsed in the Argentinian politics and dictatorship during the late 70s and early 80s know that the Pucci family took notes on how to become filthy rich through extortion and treachery from the military dictatorship itself. The film for the most part balances fairly well between a family drama and a dark comedy. Each and every character from the Pucci family seems so real and are genuinely really well developed characters. I had no trouble believing that this was a real on-screen family who have been through each another's good and bad times. By the way, is it just me or Guillermo Francella has probably the most mesmerizing eyes you'll ever see on the big screen? Due to its very apparent political backdrop, El Clan is incredibly reminiscent of the film Killing Them Softly. One takes place during the late period of the Argentinian purges, while the latter takes place during the last months of the Bush administration. The visual imagery and dark humor also repeatedly reminded me of some of the early episodes of Breaking Bad. One of the biggest components of the film is naturally the soundtrack. With each brutal scene or imagery, the film is accompanied by an uplifting song. This technique works for the most part, but also felt a bit forced in some cases, as if it was obvious that they were almost trying to dictate how the audience should feel during this barbaric scene. Most of the Coen brothers' dark humor is almost never accompanied by music, as their visual imagery is absurd enough as it is. A bit of mystery of whether I should laugh or take this seriously is always good and appreciated, and the little ambiguity could have really benefited the film. Although the film was highly entertaining throughout its runtime, mainly due to its fantastic performances, there are a couple of flaws which were very jarring at times. Firstly, the intercut between the introduction of the family with their inevitable arrest did not work. Since it's based on a true story, I guess the filmmakers did not bother hiding this fact. But still, it felt a bit distracting for the audience to really seep into the film's plot. The whole formula of the dark, absurd imagery accompanied by lighthearted soundtrack was kind of running thin. But luckily, the film ends before it becomes completely stale or too obvious. And without giving anything away about the ending, some might find it to be a bit anticlimactic. Although this isn't necessarily a flaw, it might prove to be bothersome for some people. There is also one small nitpick that I would like to point out. Later on, a new family member is introduced to help them out with the kidnappings. It's just the fact that he was introduced so late into the film that it was really hard to be invested in his character. Kinda appreciate that they want to remain true to his source material, but in the film version, his character wasn't really necessary and could have been removed. I mean, Raging Bull ended up changing major characters and situations, and it turned out fantastic.
$1.000.000 en billetes de 100. Me da mucha seguridad tenerte cerca en estos momentos, hijo.
It is amazing that after all the atrocities that the Pucci family commits throughout the film, they are ultimately rewarded with celebrity status and are silently hailed as heroes. The message of the film is fairly obvious, and it's entertaining to say the least. But there are countless other films which have done dark humor with more efficiency than El Clan. So if you're like me, who has fun exploring absurd humor in cinema, and even if it's not one of the best dark humor has to offer, I would suggest to give this film a go. And El Clan gets 3.5 stars out of 5.
Tranquilo, es la comida.